Welcome everyone to the Global Sports Channel's football show. I'm your host, David Barbash. Happy to see you, along with my co-hosts, both Mike Sutton and Darren McCauley. Mike Sutton, owner of the Auckland Huskies, a absolute gem of a fan of Arsenal, but president of his local Surfside Waves, and also the owner of the Husky Activewear brand as well. And we're really happy to have you once again, Mike. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Dave. Yes, doing well. Looking forward to the show and repping the Husky with the claw today. So
I love it. I love it. Representing. We missed you last week, but Daz and I were wondering whether or not it's because, you didn't want to take all the stick that you would have faced the last couple of weeks because, especially the last show. Arsenal, they need to turn it around, and this week's a lot kinder to you, buddy, so I'm happy to see you, bud.
No, that's all good, mate. I was on an emergency Zoom call with Arteta, so we've sorted all that out from last week, and we're back.
It's sorted big time. Darren, once again, Darren McCauley, striker, Dynamo St. Albans, or I always get it wrong, don't I? St. Albans Dynamo, right there in Australia. However, ex-striker for my brother's derby rivals, Coleraine, when you played in Northern Ireland, also Derry, Inverness. And I think earlier on in your career as well, you were a trainee with Celtic. Is that right?
Yeah, I was a trainee with Celtic before I came through the academy at Derry City.
Amazing. Well, what a history behind Celtic. I remember their 1969 and 70 sides were really some of the best sides of all time, really, in football, especially when you think about Scottish football history. What a team they had in those 2 years. Welcome back, guys. Happy to see you guys. We want to start off this week. We're going to cover a little bit of the Champions League games and then dive right in, and also a little bit of the Europa League, because, of course, both of your teams still have interest in the Europa League. I want to get to that in just a little bit. Last Wednesday, European time, not Aussie time, but last Wednesday evening, first leg was Bayern Munich at home to Paris Saint-Germain. And 3-2 winners away from home were Paris Saint-Germain. But PSG have to count themselves very fortunate in that Robert Lewandowski, striker extraordinaire, 45 goals scored in all competitions, was out injured. And proved to be a massive loss. Mbappe, when he scores in the third minute, you think, man, this is going to be a long day. However, Moting equalised in the 37th minute. Then, of course, Marquinhos put PSG up 2-1 in the 28th minute. Only for Thomas Müller equalised in the 60th minute. And it was a great game. However, Mbappe with his brace in the 68th minute. And you know what? All that position that Bayern had, they had 64% possession in the game. Really, they were missing Lewandowski big time. Did you see the game, either of you? Any comments in that first leg? And then we'll cover the final result on tonight's game later in the show. But what was your take? Let's go to Darren first. Did you see any of the Bayern Munich PSG first leg?
Yeah, I've seen the highlights, and Mbappe obviously performed fantastically well. Like you said, Bayern are missing Lewandowski. When he doesn't play, they just don't seem to have the same confidence, the same structure in their play. But the goals were flowing in the first leg, and Bayern obviously didn't get through.
Yeah, they didn't get through. When we look at the game, the game tonight, you'll see a little bit later in the show, we'll cover that. They lose on away goal rule, which is sort of cruel. But without Lewandowski, I think it was going to be a bit of an uphill battle. That being said, PSG, you can't take the credit away from them. They've got Di Maria, they've got Neymar, they've got Draxler, they've got Mbappe. They're loaded. I think Lewandowski would have been the difference maker if he'd been healthy and in the squad, but we won't know that. So, Mike, take on the game. Did you see it? If you didn't see it, your take on PSG and the strength of their squad versus Bayern without Lewandowski.
Yeah, I watched both games, Dave. I thought the PSG with the way they're set up were tactically really, really clever. You can only play the players that are put on the park against you. So I hear what you're saying about Lewandowski, probably best striker in the world at the moment, but what can you do? You can't sort of bring him into the equation because he's not there. So Mbappe's second goal was just a mind blower for me last week. That's just as sweet as it gets. And, today, really, Neymar hit the crossbar once, 5 seconds later, the post. There were several goal line clearances. I think Bayern were lucky with the result this morning, but obviously they didn't get through, as Daz said, but it could have been much worse than that for them.
Yeah, there was some gilt-edged chances missed by PSG, so fair comment. Let's move on, and I know Lewandowski's got to be sitting there thinking, if he's healthy, he could be winning the Golden Boot, he could be winning the Champions League, and then, winning the Bundesliga, but we won't see that this year. Chelsea, however, they're in it to win it still. First leg, they were 2-0 winners away from home to FC Porto. And two of the goals, both goals actually were scored. Actually, one was scored by Mason Mount, who we've spoken, especially Darren, you've spoken about Mason Mount. I loved Mason Mount when he was with Derby. And he actually made me miserable as a Leeds fan when Leeds were in the playoffs, trying to move up a couple of seasons ago. And Mason Mount, he didn't make us feel good. So he's a young striker. He put them up in the 32nd minute. And Ben Chilwell, I think, is an underrated, that midfield presence of Ben Chilwell. I think he's a player. He really is a player. He actually secured the 2-0 aggregate lead in the first leg. And the weird thing was, Porto had chances. They had 8 shots versus 6 for Chelsea, but it's chances that are taken. Chelsea only had 3 on target, but they scored 2 of those. So let's move on to Europa League. That's going to affect both of your sides. Ajax 2-1 losers at home to Roma. FC Roma, believe it or not, remember FC Roma a few years ago when they were up against Liverpool and blew that lead, just absolutely shocking blowing of a lead. And Dzeko was one of the scorers in that day, but not on the score sheet. He's still in the side and dangerous for Roma. They scored through Pellegrini and Ibanez. And the lone goal for Ajax on this one, I think, was Klaassen. I had to look at the sheet here. Davy Klaassen scoring the lone goal for Ajax. Ajax not once what they once were, but Roma, I think, are a dangerous side. And for me, Roma might be my outside favourite, outside your two teams, to win the Europa League. Let's go on to the game that affects your team, Mike, and that was Arsenal against Slavia Prague. You had to be cursing, absolutely cursing the screen after Pepe puts them up towards the end of the game, 86th minute. Saka really should have put the game away earlier in the first half. He missed that golden chance when he was right through on goal. Lacazette hits the outside of the post. And then you end up paying the price where literally 3 minutes into added time, right before 2 minutes before the whistle's blown. What was the Arsenal defense doing? They let Thomas Holles literally unmarked at the back post, and he heads into the roof of the net. Although I thought Leno could have done a better job, maybe at stopping that header. What was your take on the game? You had more shots, you had more possession, and you end up tying 1-1. Let's go to Mike and get your take on that game. You've got to be just screaming at the TV on that one.
First thing I'll say is it's a 2-leg draw, right?
Fair enough.
That's all.
Fair enough. But listen, you're at home. You score in the 86th minute. You had all these chances. I mean, Saka twice had golden chances, and the first one he should have buried. I mean, no excuse on that.
No, it's really a part of the strategic development plan of Arsenal. That is to stuff up the easy ones and work your ass off on the pardon my French, on the away ones to prove your worth. Darren's smiling already because he knows I'm just making excuses for what was a terrible performance. So we should have put it away. We didn't. We paid the price. We can only rebuild and try and get it together for the follow-up leg.
Man, oh man! You know what? This is weird because they had the guy I really like on Arsenal's squad is that young guy Smith Rowe. He was in the squad. They had Saka. And lately they've been starting Lacazette up front. Aubameyang, is he still not 100%?
Man, I don't know. I don't think he's 100%. Mentally is the wrong word. You know what I mean? I don't think he's got his head on the right way or the way he used to at the moment. Something's going on there. That's his personal business, and we don't know anything about that, of course. And hopefully he's okay. But he just does not seem like the Aubameyang of the last 10 years or 7 to 10 years. Where he came up as a superstar, and he's having a really bad run. And I'd say that Lacazette is probably a bit of a foil for that at the moment. Arteta, he's got the experience. He's a senior player in the squad. He's not the flair type player that Aubameyang is. He's a solid guy, workhorse, will put goals away. He's still got a bit of pace, although he's getting a bit older. But I think he's just using him as the foil for Auba because we don't know, what they know. So.
Yeah, it's true, and it's a shame because the amount of goals Auba contributes. But that being said, this game as well as in the last couple of weeks, I think Lacazette shows that he can still bang them in. Hopefully, Auba returns to form. Darren, take on this one, just a quick take. I know you don't like spending too much time on Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a great strategic development plan Arsenal have to, kind of go downhill ever since Wenger left. It's working wonders. I've seen the highlights with Slavia Prague and Arsenal, and yeah, Saka had a lot of chances. Didn't put them away, but I think this season will really help his development along with Pepe's, and within the next couple of years, you could see the fruits of the labour of this season, even though they don't have a lot of end product yet. I think they'll get there within the next couple of years, and not a great result, but they should do it in the second leg.
Yeah, I definitely agree because I think the youth potential at Arsenal is good. I love Saka. I love Smith Rowe. Pepe.
There's 4 or 5 of them, There's 4 or 5
of them, in
that group that as mentioned that, can be match winners, superstars of the future in their own right. And they're all forming chemistry together now. So, you need to balance sides with maturity and experience, as we know, to win things. So hopefully they can get that mix right.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a key thing. If they get 2 marquee signings in the transfer window, then I think the future looks a little bit brighter for Arsenal, because at the back, it's still not giving me 100% confidence. They sometimes switch off too much. But let's move on. Dynamo Zagreb, 1-0 losers at home to Villarreal. And then your team, Darren, Man U, 2-0 winners away from home against Granada FC, the Spanish side. Rashford, 31st minute, puts them up. And Bruno Fernandes again scoring on a penalty. Surprise, surprise. And they had, I think it was Rashford, Greenwood in the setup, who's been playing a lot more lately. Obviously, Fernandes. Sometimes Daniel James comes back into the side. He did this time. Pogba, interesting addition. They've been playing him in Europe a little bit more recently. What was your take on the game? Dominant possession, pretty even shot-wise between the two sides. It would have been a big upset if Granada had taken this one, but you're in good stance so far.
Yeah, it was a result that you would expect United to complete. They were a step ahead. They are a step ahead. If you get beat by Granada, then you're really disappointed. Rashford and Greenwood were electric, and Fernandes with the penalty again, Mr. Reliable, stepping up to the plate. So, no, it's a result you would expect United to win, and yeah, it's another notch.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Manchester United, looking good, and hopefully for Mike's team, Arsenal, second leg beckons. They turn it around and get through. It'd be nice to see the English sides progress. I still think Roma's a dangerous side, and for me, they're going to be the danger team. Let's move on to the Premier League now. On Friday, we had Fulham. Oh man, Fulham losers at home, cruelly, once more on Fulham. Scott Parker's sides loses once more in added time, right before the whistle. Adama Traore with the goal. Oh man, I feel for them, but at the end of the day, it keeps happening, and as much industry as they have, they end up losing. With enough said there, I don't see Fulham at this point getting out of the bottom three. Next game up, guess what? First game, I've been waiting for this all week. Saturday, the early game. Manchester City, the leaders, going to win the Premier League. But of course, Leeds, in the two games this season, we have a winning record against, thanks to this win. A 2-1 win away from home against Man City, despite 71% possession. They had over 20 shots on goal. We had only 2 shots on goal, and we scored with both of them, thanks to the legends, growing legend of fellow Northern Ireland player, Stuart Dallas. He scores in the 42nd minute after before Ferran Torres had tied it up in the 76th minute for the Citizens. And then right in added time, a beautiful weighted ball through from Alioski. Stuart Dallas makes no mistake. But the biggest talking point I want to point out once again is VAR. We were down to 10 men in the 42nd, 1 minute of added time in the first half. Liam Cooper goes in really hard. He gets the ball first, not player first, the ball first, has his leg on the ground. As he follows through, he lifts up. He gets the ball first. Back in the day, back in the 80s, even 90s, definitely 70s, no way that is a red card. We're in 2021. It's a red card. I thought it was a bit hard done by. I wanted to get your take, Darren, first, because the amount of possession and the amount of bombardment that Manchester had on the Leeds goal was intense. However, nothing too troubling for Ilan Meslier in the Leeds goal. And Leeds come away with a memorable, probably one of the best victories in recent years for Leeds. Enough, I'm going to shut up. You guys take it away. Give me your take on the game. Do you think Manchester City were just very poor in front of goal? Or do you have to give credit to Leeds and the defensive performances of Llorente, Coke, a tremendous job, of course, up front? I think in midfield by Calvin Phillips as well. And Stuart Dallas, man of the match for me.
Yeah, well, shots, the amount of shots that Man City had, you would expect them to at least get a draw or win the game. To have 2 shots on target and 2 goals is a real smash and grab from Leeds, but it's testament to Bielsa's structure. I'm sure he did his homework on Man City. Meslier with a few saves. You need a little bit of luck, I think, when you play Man City, and usually the teams that beat them tend to beat them on the counter attack. I think of Wolves with the pace of Traore when they beat them a couple of times, and then Dallas with a goal on the break as well. And especially considering Cooper got sent off in the first half, to come away with 3 points is a fantastic result for Leeds.
Yeah, and I think this is going to buoy them, for the rest of the season. I think they're going to finish on a high. However, remember what I said last week, Darren, is that, Leeds, last week I was saying coming up, we were going to play Manchester City this week, when I was talking last week. And then I said we've got Liverpool and Manchester United. So absolutely amazing that Leeds really giving themselves some confidence going into 2 tough games coming up. Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you, buddy. What did you think of the game? Of course, it's Leeds, so you didn't probably enjoy the game, but what did you think overall?
No, I love watching Leeds, Dave. I'd say they're probably my second favourite team just because of their journey and the struggles over the last 10 years or so. I love Bielsa, so they're super exciting to watch, as we talk about all the time. The thing that really struck me with 2 points, Man City had a more powerful team on the bench than they had on the park. No disrespect to Leeds in their performance, but it's interesting that they can have 5 starters, 6 or 7 guys on the bench that could have been starting, plus obviously the goalkeeper's there, and they're still considered that they should have just walked all over it, Leeds, and obviously had 20 shots, and that is there. What was the most impressive thing for me about Leeds is we've seen them perform and score amazing goals and, be fast and pacey and run to the end, and then concede a lot of goals and let themselves down with that lack of steeliness and lack of maturity as a game unfolds, game awareness, game smarts. And for me, when the red card happened and they were winning, it just looked like another gear clicked in with them, and they just decided, we're not losing this, just watching it as an outsider. I think the commentator at the end, at least in the Australian coverage, said, I can't believe what have they done there, at the end. And I think there's a lot of people just saying, where is that steeliness? Where is that resolve when they're up, 2-0, 3-0, and then lose 4-3 or lose a couple of goals? But great performance. And regardless of who's on the park, like we said with Lewandowski, you can only play the team that's there. And that's what they did. Just coming back to your red card issue, if we lived in the 70s, mate, we'd all be as old as you. So that's a different story. But that was the only way you're allowed to tackle in the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah, but ball first, not player first, ball first.
Dave, yeah. If that was a Manchester United player, you'd be asking for the suspension to be doubled. Let me tell you this. The rules state any aggressive tackle that causes damage to the opposition player, regardless of winning the ball, is a straight red card. That's the rule. So ball first has no difference. If he breaks the guy's leg there, is it still just, I got the ball first? That rule's changed completely, and probably for the better. Because the last thing we want to see is more Roy Keanes coming out, ruining people's lives.
I think a fair comment. I think the angle, depending on the angle that you looked at, I think his intent wasn't that. I think it went in low as he followed through and got the ball. It went up. So I don't think the intent was there. But you're right. Let's say it was deserved, and I'm on your side on this one. I do want to go to the point that you brought up, and I think it was a great point, Mike. This is directed at you. I thought, to be fair to Man City, being more critical, I should say, of Man City, you've got Gundogan on the bench. You've got Foden on the bench. You bring them on, but you don't start them, and you don't use Kevin De Bruyne, and you leave them on the bench. So for me, I thought the choice of starting Sterling, Jesus and Torres up front, and I'm a Leeds fan, and this is coming from a Leeds fan, I think it was wrong. And I think Guardiola made a mistake. That's my own take on that. To go back to Leeds' history on defensive woes this season, now that we've got a healthy Diego Llorente in the side, this kid is going to make a difference. He's not a kid. He's, 29, I think. But this guy has made a difference coming back into the squad. Robin Koch, when Bamford, I think, went off, he came on in, I think, actually, no, sorry. Bamford came off at the second half at the expense of Cooper going off. But when I think it was Roberts went off, Robin Koch, the other centre-back that had been out for many, many, many games, he came on. Both of them put in a shift. That is when we've got two healthy centre-backs like Llorente and Koch. That's going to be a difference for Leeds. And I think you'll see the goals conceded dramatically reduce. Let's move on real quick, guys. Let's move on to some of the next games. Really happy for Leeds on that one. Liverpool. This was a tough game. Liverpool 2-1 winners at home to Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins, one of my favourites. You and I, especially Darren, we love Ollie Watkins. He put them up in the 43rd minute, only for Mo Salah equalising the 57th, and cruelly for Villa. Even though I think maybe based upon shots taken and the amount of possession, Trent Arnold, who's starting to rediscover some of that form, he pops up in the 91st minute and gets the winner there. Crystal Palace, 4-1 losers at home to Chelsea. Havertz, Pulisic with a brace. He's really starting to rediscover his form. Kurt Zuma as well on the score sheet. Benteke with the lone goal for Crystal Palace. Sunday comes around and it's Burnley 2-1 losers at home, literally to Newcastle. However, if you're Burnley fans, you've got to be pissed off because 18 shots on goal, dominant possession. You go up in the first half, Vidra puts you up in the 18th. Jacob Murphy, stupid goal given up in the 59th minute, equaliser. And then the only reason why I think Newcastle can stay up in the Premier League is due to the signing of Alain Saint-Maximin. He popped up with the winner in the 64th minute. I'm telling you, if Newcastle survive, they need to write a big check to Saint-Maximin. He's a great striker. I really like him. Newcastle, lucky to win the game. Now, one of the games of the week, West Ham 3-2 winners at home to Leicester City. Jesse Lingard scoring a brace, 29th minute, 44th minute. Jared Bowen, 48th minute. Now, we got a 3-0 lead and then two consolation goals by one of my favourite players. Last week, Mike, Darren and I were talking about some of our favourite players so far season to date. And for me, one of the players of the year for Leicester City, even though they lost, is Kelechi Iheanacho with another brace. Vardy sort of cooled off recently. But the big story behind that game, guys, is three players, Chowdhury, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, one of your players of the year for Leicester City. Was it? They were missing three players that were benched. I think it was James Maddison, one of your players of the year for Leicester City, Darren. Chowdhury and Perez removed from the squad before the game for, quote, COVID-related breaches. You cost your side when they're literally going for top four position and you're going against one of your top four rivals in Leicester City and you blow it. Talk about, just spend a minute, each of you, before we go for the break. Actually, we've got less than a minute. Go real quick to why this is, Darren, why this is a big mistake on Maddison, Chowdhury and Perez's part, and you blow 3 key points?
Well, maybe if they don't take that action of taking them out of the squad, the repercussions were going to be bigger. So if they have COVID or were around someone who had it, then that could affect the whole squads and really put a dent in their season big time. So I don't think that decision was the wrong thing to do. Obviously, if you're missing those players, it's going to have an effect on any team. But you have to give West Ham credit. Fantastic performance. And Lingard again stepping up to the plate. I like the guy Bowen as well. And they've really been a surprise package this season. Iheanacho doing well, but ultimately a really good result for West Ham to beat someone who is really close to them on the table.
Yeah, we don't have much time here before we go to the break, guys, but I do want to say, since Jesse Lingard's come from Manchester United, I think that's, I believe, 8 goals in 9 games for them, which is an amazing haul since he's moved over. Sunday's games continue. Next up was Darren's team, 3-1 winners away from home against Spurs, the sinking Spurs. Jose Mourinho's side. Darren loves to hate Jose Mourinho for good reason. And Spurs really sinking faster than the Titanic. However, Son had put them up in the 40th minute. And they had some hope. They had 9 shots on goal to 9 shots on goal for Man U. Slight possession advantage for Man U, but it was pretty even. Moura, Kane and Son starting for Spurs up front. A little bit of a change up front for Man U. Cavani, Rashford and Fernandes and Pogba. Subbing on the big decision in the second half. So Fred equalised in the 57th minute. And then they decided to sub, I think Rashford came off in the 72nd minute. They put on Greenwood, and that would turn out to be a great substitution. Cavani making it 2-1, and then, of course, Greenwood with the winner in the 96th minute. Really, it was really a tighter game than the scoreline suggests. I'm going to go to you, Darren, like we always do with the home fan goes first. Your take on the game. Happy to see Man U pick up another 3 points.
Yeah, it was a great result. Tottenham have been on a bit of a blip recently, and so I knew that we needed to put a dent in that ship pretty early. The quality of all 4 goals were outstanding. Really good team goals, and Cavani at the end. He has that bit of class, I think he's coming up to 34, something along that age, but he still delivers. He's an out-and-out striker, knows where the net is. Probably not as fast or sharp as he once was, but I know he keeps himself in really good nick, and fantastic header from him. So, and Rashford, Greenwood, Fred, all delivering, firing on all cylinders, and not good news for Tottenham, but fantastic result for us.
Yeah, great result for you guys. And one of the things you mentioned last week was about Greenwood getting more chances and more game time, and he has, and he's been really I think for his age, man, he's banging them in recently, and he's really coming around. And I'd like to see, more of him next season for sure. Mike, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you love to hate like Leeds fans do as well, Manchester United, but they're still in second. They're looking pretty good, and Spurs going in complete reverse under Jose Mourinho. Your take?
Yeah, well, there's only one club we love to hate more than United, and that's Spurs. So, sinking Spurs, I think you called them, is definitely very, very apt and pithy, David, because they are sinking fast, and they don't seem to have an answer, do they? And there's lots of talk about who's being sold off. Will Jose stay? That, as Daz will say, is never good for a club to be in that position.
Yeah, well, let's see what Spurs does. I think they need to shake things up. And the biggest question mark, I think, in every single newspaper and every single site that I've seen is Harry Kane. Will he stay? Will he leave? And who does he go to? So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. And that's going to be exciting for if he leaves for a team to pick him up because, man, he's still super dangerous. Next up was your team, Mike. It's a chance for you to absolutely shine. But we're talking about Sheffield United here, so don't get too excited, but you'll take the 3 points. Arsenal, however, a brace by Lacazette. We were talking about him getting back on the score sheet, 33rd and 85th minute, and Gabriel Martinelli in the 71st minute. Now, a little bit different setup. They did put Martinelli in this time alongside Pepe, Saka and Lacazette. And nothing going for Sheffield United. They did McGoldrick, I think, and I think it was Ollie. Looks like Burke, Oliver Burke started, but then they tried to change up, put in Brewster, no effect. They put Ollie Burney in, no effect, and they are going to get relegated. So, what was your take on the game? Just happy to really stop the bit of the slide and rediscover some of the form, or were you still unhappy with the play, Mike?
Look, happy with the win. Obviously, as we know, there's no easy games in the Premier League, but if there was going to be an easy game, that's probably the one. You can't. That coach you mentioned before of Sheffield was their under 23 coach. A month ago.
Yeah.
So he's been back, not really given the poison chalice because he's not really expected to do too much, I don't think. But they have to be in pre-planning for the championship, surely at this stage already. But pleasing to see Arsenal just take control. It was pretty cruisy, I think, for them. They had probably 14 or 15 shots. Probably not that many on target given that amount of shots, but put 3 away. Good to see Martinelli get a good run. He's another one of these young kids. If we keep him together with those other ones we talked about before, it's looking good. But what can you say? Decent win, but you've got to have it in perspective of who we played. But great to just shore up. I can't believe I'm saying this. Great to just shore up ninth position.
Well, we'll see about that because Leeds and Arsenal are battling for that position. However, you've got an easier run in than we do. However, if Leeds can get something out of the next 2 games, I think it's going to be a fight for that 9th position. It really is. Let's move on. So congratulations. Oh, I can't move on because I know Darren is going to throw his 2 cents in with Arsenal. He'll find some crack in the armour in the Gunners. Let's see what happens. What do you think, man? What do you think about the game? Easy 3 points?
Oh, well, I think it's, fantastic for a club like Arsenal to be trying to hit the lofty heights of 9th position. It's a position that they'll need to fight for. There's a lot of competition down there. I'm sure the.
Jazz, just spit it out, mate. Spit it out. Tell us what you really think. Come on.
I'm sure the weather's quite warm down there, and just I hope that they can do it because they deserve it. They really do.
Moving on, David. Clearly got nothing intelligent to say. Let's move on.
Yeah, I was going to say, save some licks for next week. We moved on to, thank you for that contribution, Daz. I love that one. Monday, we moved on. West Bromwich Albion, big surprise winners. This is 2 in a row, guys. 3-0 winners at home to Southampton. Mateus Pereira, 32nd minute penalty. Matt Phillips in the 35th minute. And then Callum Robinson in the 69th minute. They take all 3 points. And is there hope now? Is there hope for survival? If they can pick up, they've got to, I think, pick up 8 points in the next few games and hope that the 2 sides above them lose. I don't know if they can do it, but here we are, 5-2 winners the other week against Chelsea, and now 3-0 winners. Now they've scored 8 goals in 2 games. West Brom, let's keep an eye on that one, guys. Brighton, 0-0 draw at home to Everton. I think a blown chance for Everton. It's what we talked about earlier in the season, thinking, oh, the leaders early in the season, Everton. And you said, I remember, Darren, no way, they don't even belong in the top 6. Everton sliding a little bit further down. As we wrap up today's games were Chelsea at home to Porto. They go in 2-0. I didn't see the final score on the Chelsea game, but either of you see there were 2-0 in the second half. It was still 2-0 on aggregate. Any idea on the final score on that one?
Yeah. Porto won 1-0.
1-0. Okay, so Chelsea goes through 2-1 on aggregate. So we have another English side that goes through. And then Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern, we already covered. But just to confirm, 1-0 winner away from home, Bayern Munich. However, they lose on the away goal rule. Cruel for them. But as Mike said earlier on, PSG, a ton of chances. It should have been a bigger gap than it was. It shouldn't have really been a 3-3 on aggregate draw on the away goal win. And we've got some exciting games coming up this week. I'm looking forward to the challenge that Leeds has, because obviously we're playing Liverpool, so that should be a good one. Both of your sides, I think, are looking for more points. Of course, I think Man U are really going to have to go into a nosedive to not, get second place. Leeds and Arsenal fighting. I think, is it the goal difference? I think we're even on goal difference. You're one position above us, and you're in 9th and we're in 10th, I believe. But we're only separated by goal difference. So it should be interesting going into the rest of the games. I think we've got, 7? Most of the sides have 7 games left in the season, 6 for sides like Man City. Want to wrap up with just a quick thing to say to the fans out there. Darren first, and then Mike, you can wrap it up. Want to thank you guys for tuning in once more, and appreciate the audience globally that we have, and we love the EPL. Darren, want to say a fond farewell for the week?
Yeah, look, thanks everyone for tuning in, and it's been a good week for Man United. Leeds with a good result against City, and Arsenal taking over well down in 9th place. So Leeds and Arsenal battling it out for that fantastic achievement, and ourselves comfortable in second position. Happy with United to be looking much better than they were the previous years. And the Global Sports Channel is going strong.
Yeah, it is. And thank you once again, Darren and Mike. Want to say a farewell for the week. I think we might have lost Mike. See, this is the effect you have on him. This is how you affect all the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, he goes running.
Well, we're going to call it a week. I think Mike, we had some technical issues with Mike there, but we're going to send, on behalf of Mike, warmest regards around the world to our global audience.